Hawthorne began poking and burrowing into corners, reading one old discarded document after another. In the course of this, he came upon a certain package, and one of the objects in it drew his particular attention. It was a rag of scarlet cloth, fashioned into the capital letter A. Near it, he found a small roll of dingy paper, containing many particulars respecting the life and suffering of a singular woman, one Hester Prynne. For the details of her life, he refers us to the Scarlet Letter.
What am I going to do? How can I keep going? Every day will be a nightmare, different slightly from the one before, but always, always, wherever I go in this town, there will be eyes, the remarks, the judgment, the reminder. No comfort anywhere for me or my baby. What a life I've brought you into, my pearl. Born in a prison cell, the child of an immoral, adulterous relationship. First seeing the sun as the whole population of Boston gathered to stare at your shamed mother. At the A, the magistrates determined I must wear every day. I live to remind me and all who see me that I have committed adultery. You have no father to share my burden, child, nor shall you know your father in this life. He must be kept safe and his reputation guarded, for he is a holy man in this town, although he felt love as other men do. Pray your heavenly Father will have some mercy on me and on you. Did you notice, my babe, that there was one who looked kindly on you today? One whose eyes sought for a trace of his face in your own? One who could have held you if he dared? Yes, you have a father, although he cannot claim you. You were made in love, my little one, although it was a sinful love. And when his eyes fall on me, although he cannot speak, still, I know he cares for us, and that must comfort us. But him, how did he come to be here this day? After I thought him lost at sea, after 5 years, that he should reappear today to witness my shame. The one person from whom I can expect no sympathy. Oh, God, this is a cruel trap I am caught in. Married to a man who never loved me, who loved books and learning, but not a man who could warm my heart or offer me a tender touch. He said he did not love me, that he loved my youth, my warmth, and his chilly life. Yet, he is my legal husband. And today, he watched me where I stood, knowing the child could not be his, reading the letter of my shame, the scarlet letter on my dress. Yes, even so did you shriek in the confusion of our two souls. Thy father cannot claim me. My husband denies me. Worse, he has made me promise not to tell anyone who he really is. He cannot feel the power of love to compel a woman into sin. He feels only his own wrongs, that his property has been taken and used, that his claim has been damaged. And so, he will seek out the man who wronged him, and then what terrible punishment will he exact? Yet, I had no choice. I had to promise by the loyalty and vow that we made in England. I had to swear I would keep his secret. Pray, protect your father, child, and keep him safe from the prying eyes of Roger Chillingsworth, as he calls himself now. He has all the power, and a poor woman has none. Yet he shall not find thee, Arthur. I will protect thee. This child of ours will be my strength. From her, I will have the caresses and affection that you cannot give me. And in her face, I will sometimes see thee smiling and looking on me with love. Oh, I must be strong. I must be strong. Yet I fear I cannot stand the pain, the loneliness. God help me. I must go forth from here tomorrow and live the rest of my life.
So, we meet the tormented protagonist of Nathaniel Hawthorne's novel, The Scarlet Letter. A single mother scorned by society, Hester Prynne adulteress, remains loyal to the lover who is too weak to acknowledge her or their child, because he cannot face relinquishing his reputation as a holy young minister.
Living alone with her child, cut off and ostracized by society for her sin and her differentness, Hester comes to think for herself, to decide that the laws of society are not laws for her.
100 years before the women's movement of the 1970s, Hester Prynne was a victim of sexist society, and she comes to think that man's law was no law for her mind.
Hester lives alone with Pearl in a small cabin near the ocean. Neighbors and visitors are prohibited from being with her. She earns a living for herself and her child by doing needlework. When she must visit town, the small children tease her. Everyone stares at her letter, and if she visits the church to pray, the preacher singles her out as a sinner and an example of the wages of sin.
6 years pass, during which time neither Pearl or Hester has another human friend or associate to turn to in pain or trouble.
No wonder Hester comes to feel that the good Christian folk of Boston may be as sinful in their hardness of heart and lack of compassion as she, who sinned in love and need, and has learned from it. Sympathy that will not scorn anyone in pain.
One threat, however, drives her to action. She learns that there is a plan afoot to take Pearl from her. Using the delivery of a pair of embroidered gloves as an excuse, Hester goes to the mansion of the governor to plead for custody of her child.
Who made thee, child?
Why, I was plucked from the rose bush that grows in your garden there.
A little heathen. Hester, this is most unfortunate. Did you not teach the child the name of her heavenly Father? This is serious indeed. Perhaps the good people of town are right. She should not be living with one shut off from the ways of good Christian folk.
No. No, she is all I have. The only hope of salvation for my soul. And you shall not have her. I will not lose the child. Look you to it. I will not lose the child.
Dimmesdale is successful in persuading the others that Hester's salvation is being aided by caring for this child of sin, and that both child and parent may be led to God through a daily reminder of her sin, which Pearl poses.
All of this is watched with great interest by Roger Chillingsworth. He is still seeking the identity of the man who loved his wife. This relationship between the minister and his wife seems a bit unusual.
Chillingsworth, because of his training as a leech or doctor, has moved into rooms adjoining Reverend Dimmesdale. Dimmesdale, tormented by his guilty conscience, is growing weaker and weaker, and the people of the town want Chillingsworth to use his knowledge of medicines and herbs to help restore Dimmesdale to health. But Chillingsworth suspects that Dimmesdale's illness is an illness of the soul and the mind, not the body. Observing Hester and Roger together, Chillingsworth is aware of overtones and unspoken words, which others did not hear. Is this the man he seeks?
And if so, what punishment will he exact?
All of us have known the torment of a hidden sin, a lie not owned up to, a toy stolen, a piece of candy or a blouse taken without permission, a piece of gossip spread in error. It seems as though everyone suspects us, and though every conversation is about us, as though everyone knows we have done something wrong.
Just so. Does Chillingsworth torment Dimmesdale? He refers to those whose illness stems from the soul, to secrets hidden which poison the secret bearer, to the value of confession in healing the mind and the body.
Yet Dimmesdale only senses a malign influence, something evil that he cannot name. He blames his own sin, his own failure to confess, his own weakness. He does not see the evil influence of the supposed friend and healer who lives with him, torturing him each day with new allusions to his sinfulness.
Dimmesdale starves himself, goes without sleep, prays without ceasing, even beats himself to punish the sins of his own flesh. At length, he is driven from his own apartment.
Into the streets by restlessness and guilt, he climbs up the scaffold in a vain effort to suffer public punishment like Hester's, but is careful not to call attention to himself, lest those he needs as witnesses should actually awaken and see him standing there.
It is night, and Dimmesdale stands on the scaffold in darkness. Hester and Pearl pass by. He calls to them. He tries to embrace Pearl, but she denies him.
Will you stand here with me and my mother tomorrow at noontime? Will you hold our hands then?
No, my child, I cannot.
Then I shall not kiss you or hold your hand. You're not true. You're not brave.
Ah! It's an egg! An egg glowing in the sky. What does it mean?
Perhaps my sin is to be revealed at last.
We see Roger Chillingsworth in the glow of the scarlet sky. He approaches the three of them on the scaffold.
Come on down from there, my young patient. You worry too much about the spotlessness of your soul. These night mists are bad for your weak health. Come on now, it's time to go home.
Uncomplaining, Dimmesdale follows his orders. Hester, however, looks long and hard at Chillingsworth. Does he know? Is he a threat?
Hester is frightened by the change in her lover. Arthur is growing weaker and weaker. Hester alone knows the real identity of the man he trusts as his doctor and his friend. She notices also how the task of digging into the secrets of a man's soul has changed Roger Chillingsworth. He is darker, more twisted, and a light seems to shine from his eyes that is the light of hellfire and brimstone.
At length, Hester takes Pearl into the forest to wait by the path where Dimmesdale will surely pass on his return to Boston. The forest which surrounded the small Boston settlement was a wild place, a place of babbling brooks and whispering winds, dells and hollows, where a man and a woman might be alone, and where an imaginative child can create castles, dungeons, and fairy kingdoms.
Pearl bedecks herself with leaves and garlands, and the sunlight seems to follow her, the child of lawless nature, not the good little Puritan maiden she should be. Yet she is lovely and alive, and her mother watches her in mingled fear and love.
Arthur comes into view. He is exhausted and pale. He thinks Hester is a ghost at first. So little does he ever suspect to see her again in life.
Arthur, I must speak with thee. There's a terrible secret I must share with you.
What terrible secret, Hester? Is not our secret terrible enough?
Arthur, one who you trust, one who appears to care for you, is in reality your enemy. He made me promise to conceal his real identity. Oh, Arthur, Roger Chillingsworth, he is my husband.
And you did not tell me? I can never forgive you. The man has stood closest to my heart and soul these many years, seeing and hearing what he should not have.
You will forgive. You must forgive. Oh, if you are angry with me, I cannot live. I cannot live!
Oh, Hester. I forgive you. Of course, I forgive you. But him... Oh, Hester. Our sin is not the blackest sin. What we did in love and passion. This man, this Roger Chillingsworth, is a worse sinner than we. For he has violated in cold blood the sanctity of a human heart. He has sought to know what it is no man's right to know. A judge where only God can judge. Oh, he is the evil man, I believe, Hester. And I fear his power.
Then you must flee Boston. You must go somewhere else. Take a ship to England or to one of the other colonies and take on a new identity. Go where he cannot follow you, where our sin cannot follow you. Save yourself, Arthur, for if you stay here, you will surely die.
No, Hester, I cannot. I'm not strong as you are. I can't face a new life, a new world, a new identity, not alone.
But Arthur, you will not go alone. I will go with you, and we will be together at last, able to live the love we've hidden for so long. Look, Arthur, see how brave I can be. Let it go and our past with it.
But the lovers have forgotten Pearl. Hester calls Pearl to her, wanting her to begin a new relationship with her father. But Pearl refuses.
She will not come. She wants me to put the letter on again. Truly, this child is on earth to punish me for my sins.
Well, put it on, Hester. I cannot bear her screaming so.
As Hester searches out the letter and pins it again to her dress, the sunlight vanishes and the color washes from her face. She fits her hair back into the cap. Slowly, Pearl approaches her, but glares at the minister with total contempt for his weakness and cowardice.
Pearl? Pearl, wilt thou now kiss the minister?
No, not till he stands with thee and me in the market square at noontime.
Well, Arthur, in time she will come to know you and love you as I do. Meanwhile, we must plan an escape. Then we shall be happy and free of this wretched, torturous town and its cruel inhabitants, and free of that fiend whose glance tortures both you and me, and who will never let us live in peace while he lives.
I must wait 3 days, Hester. Surely you remember that on election day I am to preach the sermon. This is a real opportunity for me. Many souls will be gathered and ready to be swayed and moved to turn to God. I have already prepared my address. It is written in my heart's blood, out of the pain and suffering I have known in my secret guilt all these many years. I want to give my speech, Hester. Then we shall run and start anew.
And so, this brave and solitary woman offered herself as a support to this frail and too human man, helping him regain the path and infusing him with her strength of will. At last, she can look forward to a life of companionship, happiness, and love.
Truly, as Hawthorne reminds us, the Scarlet Letter had not its office. Hester is not sorry for her sin. Indeed, she is prepared to commit the same sin again. Yet it is hard, having shared her sufferings, not to wish her some recompense, some joy, some love.
passage is reserved, then, for this evening?
Yes, and one other passenger, too. Yon old leech. He, too, plans to join us on the evening tide.
No. No, this is too cruel.
Mother, you are hurting my arm. Why are you hurting me?
I must warn him. I must warn him. Perhaps as he walks by with the procession.
Hester. Hester, come here and help me to mount the scaffold. I must face the truth at last.
No, Arthur, please.
I will never be free of that fiend until all is told. Nor can we escape the consequence of our sin.
Hester helps Arthur up the steps. He stands where she once stood, and Hester and Pearl stand next to him.
Fellow Christians, I am here to right a great wrong and try and cleanse my soul of a sin hidden in my heart these many years. This woman wore her A and her punishment publicly before you all. She bore your scorn, your silence, your contempt without complaint. But I am the partner in her sin, and I have not borne my punishment. But look and see how the Lord works. She has worn her A and her punishment publicly before you all. But look and see. The Lord has proclaimed my sin also. Will you kiss me now, my little Pearl?
Yes, Father, I will kiss you now.
You have escaped me. You have escaped me. Oh.
And what became of those left behind? Roger Chillingsworth died soon after, and left all his wealth to Pearl. She and her mother traveled to Europe, but years later Hester returned alone, took up her old clothing, and wore the red letter again, and returned to her needlework in the isolated cabin near the sea.
It was noticed, however, that she received letters regularly from England, and the paper was stamped with a ducal crest.
And it was noticed also that she decorated and embellished little gowns and robes, such as small children might wear, and sent them in lovingly bound parcels across the sea on the ships that called in the port of Boston.
So it was thought that Pearl must have found happiness and marriage and the blessing of little children, and that Hester too shared the joy of seeing her once lawless child a member again of the human family.
Finally, one day, the end came for Hester Prynne. By then, few remembered the meaning of the scarlet A always worn on her bosom. Most thought that the A stood for Abel, or even Angel, because of her long, unremitting service to the poor and unfortunate.
But Hester never forgot again the meaning of the scarlet letter. And even in death, it was the A that was her memorial.
Nathaniel Hawthorne was born in Salem, Massachusetts on July the 4th, 1804. His early childhood was spent in Salem, but he seems to have cherished more the vacation time he spent in Maine. In 1821, he entered Bowdoin College in Brunswick, Maine, and graduated 4 years later. While there, he became a lifelong friend of Franklin Pierce, who later became President of the United States. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was another classmate, but he and Hawthorne never became close friends, perhaps because they were of opposite political persuasions. The next 12 years he spent writing in the seclusion of what he refers to as his chamber under the eaves in his mother's home. Then in 1837, he published Twice Told Tales, which his classmate Longfellow reviewed enthusiastically. 2 years later, he received a political appointment and worked in the Boston Custom House for a time. In 1842, he married Sophia Peabody in Boston and went to live with her at the Old Manse in Concord. The same year, he published the second and expanded edition of Twice Told Tales. After another short turn at working in the Custom House, he entered his most productive era of writing. In 1850, he wrote the Scarlet Letter. 1851, The House of the Seven Gables. 1852, The Snow Image and the Blithedale Romance. And in 1853, the last book of his productive period, The Tanglewood Tales. Hawthorne wrote the campaign biography of classmate Pierce, who was elected President of the United States. Hawthorne was appointed United States Consul in Liverpool following the election. He resigned the consulship in 1857 and returned with fervor to his writing. He finished The Marble Fawn in 1860 and Our Old Home in 1863. He died in his sleep on May 19th, 1864. Hawthorne is recognized as one of the greatest novelists America has ever produced. His work reflects the nurturing effect of love and human interdependence. One of his notebooks contained the phrase, "We are not endowed with real life, and all that seems most real about us is but the thinnest substance of a dream until the heart be touched. That touch creates."